You're listening to a fight against free kill laws from AMP Media Production Studio.
Welcome to the Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we give a voice to those who have suffered firsthand from medical malpractice. In Florida, families devastated by medical negligence are left without justice because of a law many don't even know exists. Florida's free kill law prevents families from holding doctors accountable. These are real stories with real loss and no justice. Contact Ed at 561-239-2417 or visit afreekill.com. Today we uncover the truth, share real stories, and demand change.
Hello, friends, and thank you again for joining our podcast. I'm very happy to say that the movement continues to grow. The participation in the Florida Medical Rights Association continues to grow. I got an email today from my old boss and very, very dear friend, Jeff Olseth. He wanted to let me know that he's watching the podcast, he's following the podcast, and he is a supporter of our billboard campaign. So I ask you all, please be like Jeff. From what I understand, at every single delegate meeting that they're having around the state, someone from the Florida Medical Rights Association is there, and they're letting the representatives know that we are all over the state and that we are going to be relentless. The speaker we have, the guest we have tonight, I'm very excited about this. It's a tragic that he is our guest tonight, but he has a very powerful story to tell. And not only is he a firefighter in the Fort Pierce area, but he's also a restorative therapist. So he's a kindred spirit. So if we could, I'd like to introduce you to Austin Hodge. Hey, Austin, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for having me on your platform and being here today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do it. Especially, your family's tragedy is fairly recent, and I know that the wound is still very, very fresh. If you could, first tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay. So my name is Austin Hodge. Born and raised here in Fort Pierce. I was homeschooled through my elementary years. Progressed into high school here. Went to the public school systems. Both my parents were both patriotic. Probably more on my mother's side. And wanted us to serve, this, first it was our community and our country by joining some type of military or first responder branch. Me and my brother chose firefighting. I played football, basketball, same thing as my brother. So I kind of grew up. I did EMT school first. Then I went into the Fire Academy track program, where I obtained my firefighter certificate, as well as my 2-year degree in fire science.
I think we have a picture. I think we have a picture of you and your family. Could we bring that up? Excellent. Who are we looking at here, Austin?
So that's my mother there, and that's me standing up. Yeah, that's me standing up there with the buck ears and all that stuff, the goofy smile. That's Jarius there. That's without the tie on. That's Jarius, and with the tie, that's my youngest brother Javon. So we just left church in this picture. But here's when I just finished the fire rescue stuff. And I was kind of fresh out of high school, maybe a year and a half out of high school. And I joined the fire rescue pretty early. 20, probably like 21 years old. I joined Indian River County Fire Rescue as just a firefighter EMT. I went into schooling at Palm Beach State for paramedic, and then obtained that. And I was working as a firefighter paramedic. Ended up transferring to Fort Pierce Department, and I've been there ever since.
So
I've been there for
you've been a firefighter for about 12 years now?
well, total, yes, about 12 years. But I did a year up in Gainesville, a year in Vero, and then 10 years at St. Lucie. So about 10 years. About 4 years ago, I got my critical care paramedic license, which is also your flight paramedic license, which is your FPC. I did flight rescue for about a year with the Trauma Hawk and all that stuff. And then after that, I went into about three and a half, maybe 4 years ago. Um, I went into respiratory therapy schooling, and I obtained
Hmm.
my degree in that. Um,
Oh,
so,
very good. Very good. Um,
mhm.
and your brother Jarius, I think we have that second picture there, Jay. Your brother Jarius. Um, what's the age difference between the two of you?
It's 8 years between him and I, um, and yeah, he followed and mimicked everything that I did, and he was proud of it. He played football and basketball as well, and wore the same number I wore. We went to two different high schools, but he still made sure he played the same sport, wore the same number, and later followed me into fire.
How long had he been a member of the fire department there?
About about 3 years.
Three
He was
years.
still Yeah, he was still new, but he was his foot was on the gas, so he had completed. He was a firefighter paramedic. When
I'm,
he
I'm I'm
had.
sure I'm sure it was a very very proud time for you, your brother, your family. I'm sure, and everyone is righteously proud of what you both had done.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah,
great picture right there.
yeah, yeah.
All right, Austin, go ahead and tell me. Um, I understand that your Jarius had been on shift. They had gone on a run, and shortly after taking the patient to the hospital, he started not feeling too well. Can you tell me
Yeah.
what happened exactly?
Yes, sir. And this is going to be the first time me openly, speaking on this on your platform. I couldn't think of a better place to do so. Um, and I understand your story as well, and I sympathize with you. This is extremely tough for me because outside of him being my brother in blood, but he was my brother in service. Um, and yes, sir. So we work the same shifts. It's highly uncommon, highly unlikely to have a brother in blood that work with you on the same. So on the same shift. So they got A, B, and C shift. Usually they might put family members on different shifts and whatever, have you. But we was on the same shift, and it's not, hardly any brothers that work on the department. So it's very, very rare and very special. And every day I go into work, even every day I go into work now, would be the same day that he would go into work. To answer your question, it was a Monday. We were both on shift. I talk to him every morning before shift, and after shift. We kind of try to talk to each other, but mostly it's in the morning. He sounded fine. Everything was good. Wasn't sick. Nothing. And he transported a patient that multiple patients, but one of which, had the flu and ended up, catching the flu like we all do, and and two of his other members on that same shift also had flu-like symptoms as well, but caught the flu. Got sent home early, maybe around this time, around 6, 7 or so. Got sent home because we work 24-hour shifts. Got sent home early. Had a rough night. Kind of tried to fight it off into the morning. Felt a lot worse, and he ended up picking up his phone and calling 911. Now I want to just pause for a second because just to make this clear. First off, firefighters don't call 911. We don't do that. We're macho men. We don't go to the hospital. We're not going to call 911. And we for sure aren't going to call 911 in a city where we work in a department where we work in. You're going to have those same brothers and servants come pick you up. We don't want anybody calling us any kind of names or nothing like that. Us calling 911. But he was in pretty bad shape and he couldn't drive himself. So he was sick enough. He called 911. They came, picked him up, treated him the best they could, and took him to the hospital.
So that was on Monday then. About what time?
That was on Monday around like 11:30.
Or excuse me, Tuesday. It would have been Tuesday, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. So that was Tuesday. That was
Tuesday
Tuesday
around 9
morning.
a.m. Okay.
Yep, 9 a.m. He picked up the phone. He called, and um, and during that time, he knows that I'm real militant, and I was at the library studying for an upcoming lieutenant's test. Just that day, I had just passed or finished my bachelor's degree in healthcare management through Columbia Southern. And I was pretty excited because those are extra points where you can get towards your lieutenant's exam. And he knew that I was putting a lot into studying, so he didn't want to interrupt me. And usually I go there from like 9 to 3, and I'm not really by my phone and all that stuff. So he got to the hospital around 11:30. Um, he felt like he wasn't getting the treatment that he needed, and he also wanted some help. And so that's when he called me around 3 o'clock, 3:30.
And I know this is hard for you. Just
Mm-hmm.
pause, take a deep breath. So he called you about 3:30, and you knew right away that you should go to the hospital.
Um, yeah, so he was struggling to talk on the phone. Um, the nurse ended up talking to me and saying that he wasn't really doing too good, um, and that I should get there. He wants me to be there with him, and that he got transported there by one of our rescue crew, and he has flu-like symptoms, and he might be going to the ICU. And I was just so confused. So I stopped what I was doing, and I rushed to the ER. And I remember that day. It was bad. It was a raining day. It was an ugly day. Traffic was slow. I mean, rain was coming up from left, right. I even said before I felt like the rain was coming up from the ground. It was just tough, and it took me forever to get there. But I got there probably within like 30 minutes, and uh, and I had a bad feeling just driving there. But when I got there, he was in the ER. He was in a tripod position. He was diaphoretic. He was tachypnic. He was bradycardic, and
So he's got a
labor
fast
breathing.
heart rate. He's breathing very fast. He's all sweaty,
Yeah,
and you knew
and
there was something wrong, right?
there was something wrong, and he was in ER room 6. And I got in there, and the first thing he said is, I'm sorry, And that's the first thing he said. I'm sorry, like I didn't. Um, he didn't want to feel like he interrupt, my studies. And I said, hey man, you got nothing to worry about. It's gonna be okay. Like what's going on? And I'm talking to him as a brother, but also as a brother in service because he's also, a paramedic. So I mean, he asked the same questions that I asked him to many of other patients that he transport. Um, so
At this point, what did the hospital tell you that they felt was going on? Did they have any preliminary
yeah,
diagnosis or?
when I got there, they was talking about like, oh well, now he's um, now he's meeting like our sepsis protocol and we're gonna have to try to treat him as sepsis and then um, and I was just like, well, what time did he get here? And he told me, and when I walked through the door, I mean, he was just on pretty much a nasal cannula. I mean, they had him on a high flow, but it was at very minimum settings, and to include like it was like 20 liters, 28%. I mean, very little. He was satting at like 87, and he was huffing to breathe, and he was telling me how painful it was for him to breathe, and I'm asking him like, where is his ABG? Like, what was his ABG looking like?
The
And they
um
said,
the test that tells you how much oxygen is in his blood and carbon dioxide
yes,
and
sir.
pH and all that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so your pH, your CO2, and bicarb, and your PO2, and all that stuff, and I was asking him, and I said, well, what is his blood gas readings? And they said, well, we're struggling to get it. He's hypotensive and all that, and they're still trying to palpate for one. And during all this time, there's a lot going on. I mean, they had residents in there. They had a new nurse in there that they was trying to teach the chart. They had students in there, and and I'm talking to the other therapists over there, and I'm talking to they had a PA in there, and I was asking for a doctor, and I'm just kind of talking like, well, why don't we just use ultrasound, or why don't we use a Doppler? Um, and they were kind of like, oh,
Why didn't
looking
they
at
at
each
least
other.
get a
Oh,
venous blood gas?
yeah. And so then that's when I asked next, and I said, well, what is his pH? The three things that I asked too after that was, you can get the lab. I said, well, what is his labs? First I said, what's his toxicology report? Because I want to rule out any drugs. That came
I give
back
you a
negative.
lot of respect for that. Yeah, you told me that he was your brother, but you still asked for a toxicology report. You
Yeah,
asked for an STD profile,
yeah,
right? You
yep.
wanted to
Because
rule out that he was immunosuppressed, correct?
that's correct. And so they told me both of those tests was negative. And they was kind of fumbling around it, probably about 5, 10 minutes came by, and I started thinking, I said, well, they was trying to, get this gas still and poking my brother, multiple times from brachial artery to his radial artery, and they couldn't get anything, and just kind of doing blind sticks. And his blood pressure is like, 60/40. And
Was he still
and I said, well,
conscious at this time?
and he's still conscious, but he's working to breathe. At this point, I told them to go up on the liter flow for the high flow and for the FiO2 for the oxygen to increase that up. So they increased both of those up. Sat started to improve a little bit. He was so sweaty on his fingers. So I said, they couldn't get a good sat. And I said, look, just put it on his ear. Get the pediatric one, wrap it around his ear. So they did that. I mean, his sats went up to like 94, 95. Uh,
Had they made a decision to try mechanical ventilation?
no. So at this time, and I hope I'm not bouncing around too much. But I told them to look at the venous gas, like you said. I said, you can get your pH and your CO2 off of that. You can see if he's ventilating, you know, and they were kind of looking like, oh, can I do that? Is that, they kind of didn't know what they were doing too much. And I'm still poised. I'm still talking like how I am now, to them. And the students was all in there. And at this point, I said, hey, look, can we get a nurse in here that actually knows how to chart? And two, can all the students and everyone get out of here? Because this is my brother. This isn't a case study. You know, this isn't a case study. People had their pens and notebooks out. And I said, he's working to breathe. This ain't, and I said, I don't know if you guys know it this not, but he's a fireman, you know, in this county, you know. And
So
can
give him
I
a little
please get,
respect.
let's show some respect. Can I get a doctor in here? Can I get an intensivist? You know, and I'm doing all this stuff, and it comes a point where my brother says he takes my hand and he says, Austin, I can't. I'm having trouble breathing. I'm in so much pain. I just can't take it anymore. I want to get. I want to get intubated. You know. I want to get intubated. Take my phone. Take my keys. I can't take it no more. Just I want to be put out. Like I want to get intubated. And I begged my brother. I said, Jay, you do not want to get intubated. Let's try. Let's try BiPAP. Let's try CPAP.
But ultimately he was intubated, right?
Ultimately, yeah, he was intubated, and they told me to get out the room.
Was there any
Uh,
improvement after that?
no, it was actually a decline. So about a month after he passed, and when I got out of rehab because I went into inpatient, a month after that, I started. I finally got the medical records, even though we've been requesting it. We finally got the medical records, and then at that point, that's when I knew because they had me leave the room. Where it took them 3 times to intubate. They put it in too deep. It's a centimeter away from the carina. It's supposed to be 2 to 3, which indicates right main stems, which indicates that they only ventilated one lung, and that they pushed it in too deep. And so one lung wasn't getting ventilated. They gave him so much fluids. They gave him almost 4 liters of fluids before they gave any.
Did he have a Foley catheter in?
They did when I got there. When I got there, they put one in, but then they didn't give laces. And I had to tell them to give laces, um, and just a whole bunch of egregious things that was happening, um, and you know, and even getting the biopsy stuff. They listed him as like, I mean, he was a lot shorter than me, a lot smaller, and he was, they listed him at like 5'9", 230 pounds, which is insane because
Yeah.
I'm, 6'3", 6'4", and I'm 223, and there's no way in heck he was bigger than me, which also means fluid overload. They gave him so much before they gave him any type of pressors. So to people who's not medically inclined, they only ventilated one lung. Okay, it took them 3 times to intubate a perfectly healthy guy. They fluid overloaded him, so he drowned in the fluids that they gave him.
And there was a physician present during all of this?
Well, it was a PA.
A PA. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not cut
Did they offer any other rescue measures?
on.
Did
No,
they
because
did they talk about ECMO or anything like that?
no, they talked about that after they intubated him and they took him to CT because I was thinking that he was complaining of mid-sternal uh, chest pain that radiate to his back. So I was thinking one or two things. I was thinking a PE or a chest X-ray or a triple aortic aneurysm,
Mm.
and and I wanted to rule those out. But the only way you can rule those out is if you get, you have to give contrast. Um, I'm gonna cut on the light. You have to give contrast. Hopefully, hopefully that's better.
You okay?
Yeah, I just had to cut on the light.
Okay. Well, okay. So what time are we at right now? What time? This is still Tuesday, right?
Yeah, this is still Tuesday, and it's probably 5:30.
And they're
It's probably
offering a suspicion of sepsis as a
and
cause. And
Yep,
and
it was
48
sadistic,
hours before that, he had absolutely no symptoms.
no symptoms. And I would love to pause right now, and I would, I hope a lot of people watch this, and a lot of medical professionals know me, and I would want to ask them this question. In my experience, in my little short, medical professional career, I haven't met a perfectly healthy 25-year-old, okay, die from the flu, you know, and sepsis and get septic within, an hour or so, within a few hours and die. I have never heard of anything uh, like that before, and I'm not okay with that. And I don't want people out there looking on the outside in thinking that, like, oh, okay, yeah, he died from sepsis and he died from the flu, because it makes no sense. And I talked to many nurses and other physicians because I work at a level one trauma hospital, and it doesn't make sense to them either. But
Yeah,
what
he was
does make,
26 years old. He had no history of any kind of chronic disease. He was in
yeah,
perfect health. He was a firefighter, paramedic,
hmm
and he
yeah, he
got
was firefighter,
he,
paramedic, and we go through thorough annually blood work and all these things to make sure that we're in perfectly good health.
so how
Um,
much time has gone by now since he passed?
since this is since he what was the question?
I'm sorry, since he passed, how much time has gone by? How long
Since he
ago did Jarius actually
did,
pass away?
it was July 22nd, so maybe approaching 4 months now.
Okay, and what was the the cause of death on the death certificate was?
So they have the influenza and septic sepsis. You know.
And I'm sure they did blood cultures. Uh,
hmm
did all the diagnostic stuff collaborate? He had an autopsy?
He had an autopsy, and it took them forever to come up with the cause of death because she
Yeah, I'll
even
bet.
said yeah. So she even said that she's never seen a more perfectly healthy 26-year-old in her life, and they was trying to figure out what the cause was, and the only thing that he tested positive for was the flu, and but he got septic, late, and they have something called VAP, which I know what I know that you know that, and that's ventilator acquired pneumonia, or they have these things that these diseases or illnesses that people can get from mechanical ventilations and stuff like that if the bacteria isn't treated early. And they just didn't start antibiotics quickly. I think when they saw him come in, they saw, oh, he's just a 26-year-old with the flu, and they wasn't aggressive. But who was aggressive was the other hospital that also treated and helped the other two members on his crew that got sick with the same symptoms my brother had.
Okay, well, it seems pretty clear that something something got missed.
Yeah.
We've only got a few minutes left. I'm so sorry, but tell us what happened the first time you tried to speak to a lawyer about this.
Um, yeah, so after I got out of rehab, because I was in a dark place, and I'll be honest with you, I mean, I lost my brother, had to bury my brother, and all that, and he was my best friend. And I wasn't okay. The biopsy stuff came out, with the influenza and sepsis, and my medical antennas was going up, just like every other, firefighter or nurse out there, and it just didn't make sense. So we went to the clinic. I mean, we went to the a couple attorneys, and everyone was telling me about this. They said, "Man, you do have a case." Sent them over, the stuff that I had for the medical records and stuff. Sent them over stuff, and they said, "Man, I'm just so sorry. I do see discrepancies here, but unfortunately, your brother is over the age of 25. He doesn't have kids. He's not married. It's something called the free kill law, and you won't be able to hold, those physicians accountable." And I was like, what do you mean? I thought it was a joke. So then I called two other attorneys, you know, and same thing. I tried to go federal, tried to do a federal thing, and it was the same thing. Couldn't trump it. And so I went to look up this law, and I said, man, that is the most horrid, law out there. And for people out there that don't know what that is, that's just like me as a paramedic. You call 911, I come there and I pick up your over 25-year-old kid or friend or daughter or whatever, and they're sick and they're dying or whatever, and I end up giving them the wrong medicine. I supposed to push epi and I push dextrose, okay, and I kill them and they die, and I say, oh, whatever, it's my bad or whatever, but they're over the age of 25, they don't have any kids, they're not married, so I'm good, so I can just wash my hands. That's a free kill. No, that doesn't apply to EMS, that doesn't apply to us, but it applies to the hospital. If that happened to me and I did that, they would take my license, okay, and then I would
Right.
be probably sued civilly, and civilly, and I should be held accountable for that. You know, I swore on the oath, I did, and my brother did, to protect and serve this community, to protect and serve this country, and I carry my brother's flag with me everywhere I go. I have it right over here, and we're very patriotic, and we love this country, we love this community, but this is outrageous because we swore to protect and serve just like these physicians did. Okay, they should be held accountable by the same thing, you know. Um,
Okay. Well,
and
Austin, I'm sorry. We're gonna come back to this. We're gonna follow. I am so glad that we met you. I'm so glad you found us, and we are going to work with this. We're going to follow this, and we're going to have you back on the program. And hopefully, this year, there's going to be a change. There's a difference is going to be made. And your story, your efforts, your devotion is going to help with that.
I tell you, if I got to march up to Tallahassee with the flag that says, I am my brother's keeper with the American flag, and to ban this free kill law, I would do so. Not only for my brother, but for the other people that lost loved ones. And I would love to end with this, and it's be 20 seconds. Is that these same physicians that harmed my brother, that gave the wrong stuff, that gave too much of this and not enough of this, they're still out there practicing and taking care of your loved ones. Don't wait until you say, oh man, that sucks for him. That's a sad story, but my family's healthy. It's going to come a day and a time where we all get sick, and you're going to rely on physicians to help you. You put your trust into them. They should be held accountable if they cause any harm to you or your loved ones.
Amen, brother. All right, we will follow you, and we'll be in touch again. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you all for your time. Please like, follow, and share. And we much, much appreciate your continued support. Good night.
Thank you for watching The Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we interview those who have dealt firsthand with medical malpractice. Families are devastated by medical malpractice and left with no justice. This isn't just a loophole. It's a failure to protect the ones we love. It's time to change the law. It's time for accountability. Contact your state legislatures, visit afreekill.com for more information on how to help, or contact Ed at 561-239-2417. Because every life should matter.
You're listening to A Fight Against Free Kill Laws from AMP Media Production Studio.